let's analyze what it is the Heat did so that you can answer your own question. You're looking at it unemotionally, and you're saying those are a bunch of old guys. Mike is emotionally trying to talk himself into this at every turn. No, maybe they're the third best team in the East, and Philadelphia is weird, and the Nets can get injured, and maybe Kyle Lowry. He's talked himself. That's happened in 24 hours. I've watched it happen. And if you give him another 24 hours, he's going to suddenly want DeRozan.
Yeah, it's the beauty of it. Yesterday, I wasn't crazy about these moves. The Jimmy Butler extension caught me off guard, and I had the exact same reaction you just shared. Oh, by the end of that, that's probably not going to be a great deal. But hey, we're a couple of months removed from saying Jim VP. That was this NBA season. Despite the fact that he can't shoot from the outside, he was still impacting the game on the court on both ends.
I mean, I can't believe that 12 months removed from the final. If I told you 12 months ago, that simply Goran Dragic isn't going to be hurt and you have Kyle Lowry in the finals to play against LeBron and the Lakers. That was less than 12 months ago. That we're talking about a finals team, and then we're saying, well, bubble frauds. And then you go through this next season and they can't win a single playoff game. Which one's accurate about the Miami Heat? Because yesterday can feel very much like one last swing for Riley and change for the sake of change.
They're both accurate because it's not static, Dan. It's not like, hey, we just brought back everybody else and ran it back. Things change. Things are always changing. And the important thing to recognize is, hey, first of all, even if they had Kyle Lowry in the finals, remember, Bam was hurt too. I submit to you, Bam getting hurt was probably a bigger deal than even Goran getting hurt. Also, Duncan Robinson's friend had a conversation with him, reminding him, hey, man, LeBron knows who you are. You're just some scrub. How does LeBron know who you are? And I still hate that guy for taking Duncan Robinson from a place of extreme confidence, no regard for human life, to just a scared little kid who realizes, holy shit, the best player in the world is guarding, or I'm supposed to be guarding this dude? Come on now. How is this supposed to work? But then you fast forward, and I think a couple things happen. I think Milwaukee learned from their experience of playing. I mean, we always knew Milwaukee was more talented. That's not a shocker. What's different is they learned from that experience, and they got better as a result, and they added pieces that they didn't have last year. I think players for the Heat that played well a year ago didn't play well. Tyler Hero didn't play well. And a lot of that is because he had one good game against the Celtics and everybody lost their damn mind. Kenny Perkins talking about he's going to be an all-star next year. And I'm like, for what? He had a good game. Relax. So there's a lot of stuff that went into it, Dan. And the reality is, again, none of this is static. It's not that anyone was a fraud or got over or got lucky. It's just that things are changing dynamically all the time.
The point is that this show, which loves to make fun of sports and people who take sports too seriously, dorks out on days like yesterday because of the emotion of the last 11 years that is unique to this market and this team and the allegiances of this show. So within that, as your unemotional analyzer who gets things wrong, and Mike Ryan is emotional guy who's talked himself into Kyle Lowry and would like to add DeMar DeRozan just so that we can laugh some more at the Knicks adding Evan Fournier and not even being able to get DeRozan. Within the unemotional and emotional, I submit to you Billy as unemotional and Homer columnist Greg Cody, who I am sure is going to make some sort of argument on behalf of Trustin Riley because it's the column he writes every time for 25 years. So let's start with Homer columnist Greg Cody. Your thoughts on the moves, Kyle Lowry, PJ Tucker. Miami Heat go from the 5 seed or the 6 seed to the 4 seed.
Yeah, that's about right. They're certainly not a championship contender. I love that they re-signed Duncan Robinson, who's an essential 3-point shooter in this mix. And PJ Tucker was a big part of the Bucks winning it all. That's a nice add to me.
And he was okay.
Kyle Lowry at 35, he's a star in decline. I think it's a sort of a meh signing. If you compare it to a whale, it ain't a whale. He's a nice 12-pound bass that you're going to get a couple of nice meals out of. I just don't see Kyle Lowry as the difference. I think he's a nice sign. He looks better on paper, I think, than he's going to impact on the court right now. If you say they have 3 all-stars now with Bam and Jimmy and Kyle, that's fine. But moving forward, is Kyle Lowry a top-tier all-star? I don't think so. I defer to Amin on that kind of a statement. But to me, he's good. He's appreciably a little bit better than what they had, but he's not a difference maker, I don't feel.
At Le Batard Show on Twitter. Is Kyle Lowry a 12-pound bass you can make a couple of good meals out of?
That was a reasonable take by Greg Cody. I just want to get to the bottom of what we're doing here with regards to the Miami Heat. Is the concession that we're all making is that the East is just that much better than it was 2 seasons ago when they made it to the finals? Because the Miami Heat did improve their team. They added to their team, and so far, they haven't really given anything up from a core that entering last season we're like, well, they've got young stars. We keep talking about the age of Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry. Bam Adebayo's young. Tyler Hero's entering year 3. There were young guys that were supposed to ascend, and at best, you could say Bam Adebayo made a lateral move last year, and that was a slumpy year for Tyler Hero. That was really the disappointing part about last season, is that the players that you were counting on to get better and keep ascending didn't. Okay, those guys are still on the team. That plan still remains. Hopefully they get better, but they've added to the team since. The team is definitely stronger than it was last year, so why are we shitting on this so much?
Billy?
I mean, I'm not a basketball expert, but is Kyle Lowry the missing piece to make them a championship contender? Probably not. And you can't say Tyler Hero had a slumpy season. He's had 2. He had one that was okay in the bubble, and then he had last year. So it's probably somewhere in between the 2 of them, right? But it seems like they have a lot of people tied up for the next 3 or 4 years, and they're not going to have a lot of flexibility to get out of that, right?
Well,
So is this good enough to get a championship? Isn't that what like you want for Jimmy and for Pat? Can you do a lot more with this team the way that it's kind of locked up right now?
Yeah, the reality is, this is what I said the day it happened, whatever day, all the days are running together at 5:30 in the morning. But
Moderna. Still
your
got
work,
some time.
yeah.
Milwaukee.
You're Milwaukee for real. Jeez. Your work is still not done, right? You can't say, got it, boys. We're done. We got Kyle Lowry, kept Duncan Robinson, gave Jimmy a bunch of money in the future, and now championship hopes. Like, you still have work to do. And like Billy said, you don't have a whole lot of flexibility to get that work done. So it's got to be a lot of creativity. It's got to be a lot of bargain hunting, and it's got to be continuous. It might be another trade on the horizon. Not now, but once the year starts, because as currently constructed, this ain't going to be good enough. Also, really disappointed that nobody leaped on the opportunity to take Greg Cody's 12-pound bass joke about Kyle Lowry and turn it to 12 pounds of ass in each cheek. That's right. I got to highbrow this thing up now.
I'd like to hold that thing up in a photo. He's got a big ass. What can I tell you? I mean, it's undeniable.
I just wanted Amin to sit there with the silence of just gazing at Kyle Lowry's ass and all of us just staring at him.
Wait, you have me like pulling it up on the screen, a picture of his ass, and like,
and
how can I work
we're
this?
looking for big laughs from everybody, and instead you just got sort of a stunned and scared silence from everybody and a shit-eating grin from Cody. Look at who your ally is. Look, just enjoying the. Yes.
I did enjoy it. Well done, Amin.
I followed you down
Cheers.
hypothetical. I actually held up his ass in a fishing photo, so I'm with you there. It is a big ass. Just Googled it. It's a big ass. It probably needs to get a little bit smaller at age 35.
Amin is saying that it's not going to get any smaller, that they're going to change all their body fat rules for Kyle Lowry, that Kyle Lowry's not going to have to be in shape, that he's going to be able to show up and be 35-year-old fat.
That they're going to widen door frames
For their third best player.
Maybe.
What is it? How about this? You said they have to get creative. And they have the opportunity to get creative. My hope is, with Victor Oladipo, who's a forgotten name, is that there's some sort of agreement, because I kind of felt boned by the fact that he'd opted for surgery. It was kind of weird. It looked like he was opting for rest, and right before the playoffs, the rug kind of gets pulled out from under you. It felt as though those in the organization were also frustrated by that decision. If that was the decision, okay, you come back on a prove-it deal. If I'm telling you, you have a starting 5 entering the playoffs next year of Kyle Lowry, Victor Oladipo at the 2. You have Jimmy Butler possibly at the 4, Duncan Robinson at the 3, and Bam Adebayo at the 5. That's a really good starting 5 with pieces like Tyler Hero and PJ Tucker coming off the bench. I like that team.
He's talked himself into it. It's official.
That's a good team. That's a good team.
Mike, no one's saying it's not a good team. I'm just saying that it's not quite there yet as far as where you want it to be. But it's a good team. I'm not trying to say, oh, the Heat are going to be terrible. They'll be a 500 team. That's a good team. Yes. It's just not quite as good as the class of the conference.
There's just kind of a championship mentality down here right now, right? And that just probably won't win a championship. No one's saying it's going to be bad. Just it's not good enough.
And people are chasing the high of 2010, right? Like that's my feeling as a Heat fan. Is it's really hard to feel like it did in 2000. I understand it's an impossibly high standard, but when it's constant, you're linked with Lillard, you're linked with Giannis, you're linked with all of the big guys. Lowry does feel like a bit of a come down. It's still a good team.
I'm chasing the high of 2020. I'm chasing the high of 2020 though.
But that was completely different. That was a surprise out of nowhere.
Why do we keep diminishing this?
No, I'm not diminishing it. I'm just saying you're going into a season thinking, man, it'd be nice if Miami made it to the 4 or the 3 seed. They actually didn't in the regular season, and then surprise you with the quality of their playoff performance.
The reason that I am bringing this up to the audience for context, and the reason I'm saying you have to analyze the last 17 years of what it is that I'm talking about here to understand why our show becomes a show that ends up putting pressure like the fan base on this management team to forget that was 12 months ago in the finals. They feel the pressure of that, the pressure of their own expectations that they've created. Pat Riley can't sit still on some of this stuff. It's not good enough to be kind of relevant one year, and then 12 months later, you get knocked out in the playoffs without winning a game. They're going to do something, and there are handcuffs structurally. It was going to be Giannis. It was going to be Bradley Beal. It was going to be, do you really want Harden? And then you get stuck with, quote unquote, stuck with Kyle Lowry, and it diminishes, A, how hard it is to get a Kyle Lowry, that people want Kyle Lowry, and B, it diminishes how good they've been and relevant they've been across 20 years in this town, where they're really the only team that we have any kind of expectations like this for, because the Marlins and the Dolphins haven't. Man, Dwayne Wade was the only one winning down here for 20 goddamn years. He raised a generation of sports fans down here, and Billy sat it out for some reason.
But aren't those handcuffs also partially their own fault because of bad deals that they've signed and trading away picks for years and years and years in the future, where you can't actually draft generational players anymore if you're the Heat?
Yes, but I think bad deals is also harsh. They won that Goran Dragic deal, and now Goran Dragic turned into Kyle Lowry. We overlooked the fact that despite these handcuffs, in the last 3 seasons, they've added players like Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry. These are all-star caliber players, deemed superstars by people that follow the league. They've done that with not enough traditional space to just sign them into cap room.
Kyle Lowry's the best Raptor ever.
Yes.
Unless it's Chris Bosh, unless you want to go for the short period of Chris Bosh. I don't think I have it wrong when I say that in the history of that franchise, now it's the tail end of his career, but in the history of that franchise, there hasn't been a lot of people that you would say are better than Kyle Lowry, but yet it's met with something of a yawn by the nation at large, because they're looking at Kyle Lowry and they're like, what's the 24th best player in the league or the 29th best player in the league actually doing to make you a contender?
I mean, it's really hard to sign a free agent superstar. It's hard to do that with the cap room. And the Miami Heat have found ways to improve their team with max type guys, despite not having max type room.
No, you're right. I don't want what I'm saying to be a criticism of the deal they did. Getting Kyle Lowry is big for Miami because he is an upgrade. He is a good player. And he was, as you pointed out, probably the best point you made is he's a coveted dude. It wasn't like there was nobody else after him. Philadelphia was after him, and that's a good team. The Knicks could have been after him, and that was a good team last year. So Dallas was reportedly after him, and that's a good team. So it's not like you beat out him from staying in his team to win 20 games or going to like Sacramento to make a max deal. You beat out real contenders for his services. So that is something to be happy about. I'm just saying, and this is the part where I would say, I guess if you're a fan, hell yeah, be happy about what the Heat's offseason. It was a good offseason. But from my standpoint of unemotional as Dan says. I'm just telling you, temper those expectations. Like if they don't end up going to the conference finals, don't be like, but I thought you told me. Well, yeah, you can be better and still not be enough.
Kyle Lowry absolutely makes them better in my view. It's just that when the Heat, and Dan, you talked about the pressure that they feel. They do kind of set it on themselves by basically signaling that they're going to be clearing out cap room for the big summer of 2021 when all these guys are going to be available. Then all these guys either sign extensions or get traded elsewhere, or you need to give up a full armament of draft picks in order to go and get them. And the Heat are kind of left with Kyle Lowry when we're talking about the difference-making players potentially being available and the Heat getting nowhere near them. If they said, we've drafted a great young core, we've done incredibly well to build out a young team, and we want to see it through to fruition, I think the Heat have the approval rating in Miami to do whatever they want. It's Pat Riley and the organization that, understandably, given their tradition, wants to go big game hunting.
Thank God they're always in these conversations. Thank God they're that aggressive. Hurrah, I say. Because this is a team that has a chance, a better chance. And that's what sports is all about.
I think you just woke Chris Cody from a slumber with hurrah, I say.
Hurrah.
I think you've got carried away, but Chris was sort of snoring at his screen. He's like, I'm so tired of this goddamn Heat talk for 12 years. It's Kyle goddamn Lowry.
They are the story of the association right now.
They are?
Hurrah.
I can get behind a hurrah.
They have a better chance of winning the championship now than they did yesterday. Hurrah!
Hurrah.
That's what sports is all about. Hurrah!
Hurrah, I say. I think it's important.
Hurrah, I say.